Little Fox.
The Story of Dr. Dolittle. Chapter 13. The African Prince.
Dr. Dolittle and the animals walked back into King Jollyginky's land. They hoped to get back to the sea and find a way to return home.
"We must be very quiet,"
Polynesia whispered.
"If King Jollyginky hears us, he will send out the guards again."
Everyone was hungry and tired. Gub-Gub could not stop crying.
"I'll find some food for you,"
said Chi-Chi. He jumped into a tree.
"Some coconuts?"
Gub-Gub sniffed. While Chi-Chi went off to look for food, Polynesia led the group. After a while, they got lost.
"I'm sure it's this way,"
Polynesia said.
"We just came from there,"
complained Dab-Dab.
"Oh, where is Chi-Chi? I'm so hungry,"
cried Gub-Gub.
"Be quiet!"
Everyone yelled at the pig. Everyone felt like giving up.
"Wait, look over there."
Gub-Gub pointed excitedly. In front of them were fruit trees. Polynesia shook her head.
"I don't think it's that way."
But we're so hungry,"
cried the animals. So they ran toward the trees.
"At last, food!"
shouted Gub-Gub. Unfortunately, they had made a big mistake. They had walked right into King Jollyginky's garden.
"This time you will not escape,"
one guard said. Dr. Dolittle and the animals were taken away. But Polynesia escaped once again. Meanwhile, Chi-Chi was very upset.
"Where are they?"
He wondered. He looked and looked, but it was no use. He could not find his friends. Dr. Dolittle stood before King Jollyginky again.
"Please, I must get back to Puddleby,"
the doctor explained. The king laughed unkindly.
"Ha ha ha! You are going nowhere! Please, you must let me!"
Dr. Dolittle tried to speak, but the king got angry.
"Take him to the dungeon!"
he roared. Finally, Chi-Chi found Polynesia. She explained what had happened.
"The jungle is your home. How can you get lost?"
he scolded. "Shh!" Polynesia whispered. Below them, a young man walked by. He sat down under a tree.
"Who cares if I am a prince?"
the man said.
"That must be King Jollyginky's son,"
Chi-Chi whispered. The prince took his hat off. Sighing, he said,
"I would do anything to have hair."
Polynesia began to blink very fast. This meant she was thinking.
"Chi-Chi, I have a plan,"
Polynesia said. She told him her idea.
"You're crazy. It's too dangerous."
Chi-Chi refused to help. But in the end, the monkey agreed to help. Chi-Chi and Polynesia hid behind the leaves. "Prince of Jollyginky!" Polynesia used a woman's voice.
"Who's there?"
the prince mumbled. "I am your fairy godmother," Polynesia said.
"My fairy godmother?"
the prince repeated. "I'll give you one wish," Polynesia said. The prince could not believe it.
"Anything I want?"
he asked again. "Yes," she answered.
"I wish I had hair."
The prince closed his eyes. Polynesia's plan was working. "Find Dr. Dolittle. He has a magic bottle," Polynesia told the smiling prince.
Where is he?
The prince asked. In your father's dungeon. You must go tonight after dark. With that, the fairy godmother disappeared.
The Story of Dr. Dolittle. Chapter 14. The Magic Bottle.
Dr. Dolittle did not know what to do.
I must get back to Puddleby.
He kept saying.
We don't have a boat.
Jip pointed out. Dr. Dolittle had forgotten about that. Polynesia flew to the dungeon.
Get Dr. Dolittle. Hurry.
Polynesia whispered to Gub Gub. When the doctor came, Polynesia told him about the prince. Dr. Dolittle looked in his medicine bag.
Well, let's see.
Ask him to let you out.
The parrot continued.
We could ask the prince for a boat.
Jip barked excitedly.
Good idea, Jip.
Smiled Dr. Dolittle. The prince waited until dark. Then he went to the dungeon just as the fairy godmother had said.
Dolittle! Dr. Dolittle!
He called softly.
My fairy godmother said you have a magic bottle. May I have it?
Dr. Dolittle scratched his head.
Well, yes, of course you may. But first you must let me out of this dungeon.
Jip reminded the doctor about the boat.
Oh, and also you must find me a boat.
Dr. Dolittle continued. Gub Gub wanted to ask for one more thing.
With lots of food in it.
The doctor added. The prince quietly unlocked the dungeon.
Get me a boat. I will meet you on the beach.
The doctor said.
What will you give him, doctor?
Asked Jip. The doctor took out a black bottle.
What is it for?
Asked Dab Dab.
This medicine makes the hair grow quickly.
Explained the doctor.
That's what the prince wants.
Said Dab Dab.
But it's not human hair.
The doctor looked away.
What kind of hair is it?
Asked Dab Dab.
It's dog hair.
The prince was waiting for Dr. Dolittle beside a boat.
Now, give me my magic bottle.
He said excitedly. The prince jumped up and down like a boy. Dr. Dolittle rubbed the lotion on the prince's head.
Is it growing?
The prince asked excitedly. Dr. Dolittle rubbed more and more. Then he poured the whole bottle onto the prince's head. Just like grass, 1, then 2, then 10 hairs started popping up. The prince was growing hair.
I have hair! I have hair!
The prince shouted joyfully. He was beginning to look like Jip. But he didn't have a mirror to see himself. The prince ran off into the jungle, singing and dancing.
Jip, you and the prince could be brothers.
Teased Chi-Chi.
Poor prince.
Tutu said.
Don't worry. In 2 weeks it will all fall out again. I will send him the proper medicine when I get home.
Dr. Dolittle replied.
Hurry and go before the prince comes back,
Polynesia said. Everyone got in the boat except Polynesia and Chi-Chi.
Aren't you coming?
Asked Jip.
Africa is our home,
Polynesia said sadly.
We want to stay here.
Chi-Chi added. Dr. Dolittle nodded.
I understand. I will miss you both very much.
The parrot and monkey hugged Dr. Dolittle. They waved goodbye to their friends.
Goodbye, Dr. Dolittle.
Cried Polynesia and Chi-Chi, and the boat left Africa.
The Story of Dr. Dolittle. Chapter 15. Red Sails of the Barbary Pirates.
Dr. Dolittle and the animals missed Polynesia and Chi-Chi very much. But they knew Polynesia and Chi-Chi were happier in Africa.
Where are we now, Dr. Dolittle?
Asked Dab-Dab.
I'm not sure.
Dr. Dolittle scratched his head.
Dr. Dolittle! Dr. Dolittle!
Voices were calling from the sky.
Oh, hello!
The doctor waved to some birds.
You're going the wrong way!
One shouted.
These are Barbary waters.
Another one said.
Barbary? What's that?
Asked the doctor.
They're pirates!
The other bird whispered. Dab-Dab began to shake with fear.
Pirates? Oh no! Ah.
He quacked loudly.
The Barbary pirates wait for boats,
Explained the bird.
After they attack the boat, they steal everything in it. The pirates take people too,
Said another bird.
Sometimes they throw people into the water.
Dr. Dolittle did not want to meet any pirates.
Go this way! You'll be safe!
The birds cried out. So the doctor sailed the boat away from the Barbary waters.
Phew! That was close.
Dr. Dolittle wiped his forehead. The next day, Dr. Dolittle forgot all about the Barbary pirates.
I smell roast beef.
Jip was talking in his sleep. Dr. Dolittle laughed.
Apple pie, potatoes and...
Jip mumbled.
Yummy! I smell roast beef!
Gub-Gub said happily. Dr. Dolittle sniffed the air.
Jip smells roast beef too.
Maybe it's from that ship.
Gub-Gub pointed.
Doctor.
Dab-Dab's voice shook.
Dogs have a good sense of smell, almost as good as pigs.
Gub-Gub said.
Dr. Dolittle,
Dab-Dab pointed but couldn't speak.
What is it, Dab-Dab?
Dr. Dolittle asked. Jip was still sleeping.
Trouble. Bad men. I smell 5. No, 6 men.
He growled. Then he barked so loudly he woke up.
Whoa, I had a terrible dream. Dr. Dolittle.
Jip suddenly jumped up. A big ship with red sails was coming toward them.
it's the Barbary pirates.
Whispered Dab-Dab. Dr. Dolittle gave orders.
We must put more sails on our boat.
He shouted.
Jip, Gub-Gub, find all the sails. Bring them to me.
The pirate ship moved closer and closer. Dr. Dolittle used every sail on the boat, but the boat was still not fast enough.
What do we do?
Cried Gub-Gub.
Tutu, find the birds.
Dr. Dolittle told the owl. Tutu came back with 2 birds.
Only 2 birds?
Barked Jip.
The rest are coming.
One bird called down.
Bring all the rope you have, quickly!
Shouted the other one. Dr. Dolittle brought the rope.
Make the rope into a lot of thin strings.
Said one bird. Soon they had hundreds of thin strings. Dr. Dolittle tied the ends to the boat.
Now what?
He asked the bird. Suddenly, the sky started to get dark. There was a low rumbling sound.
What's that noise?
Gub-Gub asked.
I don't know.
Jip replied. He did not push the pig away this time.
Look up there.
Tutu shouted excitedly. Above them, hundreds of birds covered the sky. Each bird took a piece of string.
Okay, everyone, hang on.
Said a little bird. Together, the birds pulled the strings. Dr. Dolittle's boat nearly flew in the air. It moved faster than the pirate ship. All the animals, except Dab-Dab, began to laugh.
Yippee! This is fun!
Shouted Jip,
Look, I'm flying!
cried Gub-Gub. Shortly, the red sails disappeared.